Welcome everyone to another episode of What Mum Wants. Today we are going to be talking about loss of personal identity. What do I mean when I say that? Well, first of all, not all women are going to suffer from this problem. Everybody is different, everybody has their own problems, and everything is unique to yourself. However, a lot of women will resonate with this and share with it, so this is for them. If it's not for you and you don't care and you've never had a loss of your personal identity after you became a mum, this is not the video for you. I really didn't think about this subject until recently when I saw a video on TikTok of a woman being very honest and talking about her loss of identity. And then it kind of really, I watched the whole video and I thought, you know what, this really is a thing, because I do remember these feelings myself. So I wanted to talk about that. Let's break it down into three kind of stages with this video. So we're going to talk about the actual problem. We're going to talk about when do we notice that that problem is around, and also what can we do about it. Okay, so the problem in hand that we're talking about, that a lot of mums will struggle with, is that we have spent so many years being mum that when we don't need to be mum anymore, what do we do with our time? So obviously we will always be mum. I'm not saying that when that just ends, because you're always going to be a mum. You've already made your bed, you have to lay in it. So what I'm saying is, we had our own independent lives before we had children, and we knew things that we liked doing. We'd spent many years building up an understanding of what it is that we like in our life. So then suddenly we go through the transition and become a mother. When we do that, first of all, we get stripped down to the basics, because you have a little baby with clutchy exploring hands, so immediately the mum bun happens. So our hair is always tied up because we don't want to suffer with being pulled every time we're breastfeeding or bottle, whatever it is that you did. So the hair gets tied away. You can't hold a baby because they're clutching for your hair too and they get their face in it. So hair goes up. And that is how it is for months, maybe years. So the other thing, earrings, they have to come out, because again, it's something that's going to get pulled on and grabbed and it's sparkly and babies are going to get attracted to it. Necklaces, we no longer can wear necklaces. So we go through this process of being kind of stripped of a first layer. Let's look at this like an onion. So our first layer gets stripped down. We already go through a change. Then what happens is the other layer that really comes about, and is probably the biggest layer, and that is that our needs suddenly are not as important as our babies. So everything we do throughout the day is always for the baby. Now, when you start living your life for somebody else, you lose contact with yourself. So your entire world revolves around this little baby. You are feeding, changing nappies, maybe fitting in a shower for yourself if you can, feeding again, changing more nappies, burping, maybe being puked on. Then you try to maybe go for a walk to get some air and for your baby to sleep. And then you're feeding, and then you're changing more nappies, and then you try to get some food, and then you're feeding, you're changing. You can see the process, right? Your entire day gets consumed by a rhythm that is not your natural rhythm. So that really affects us internally. We completely lose contact with ourselves, and through that is when our loss of identity begins to happen. Again, not all mums are like this. Maybe there are some mums out there that's super pro, and I know that definitely with my first child, it was such a major shock to my system. I literally had my phone on silent for the first month, and I told people that I will call them, like, call me, it's fine. I probably won't answer, but I will call you back when I see and have time to look at my phone, because I felt like my world just totally changed and I needed time to process that. we spend years doing this process of nurturing our babies. Then what happens is we basically, through losing contact with ourselves, start to not really understand what it is that we like anymore, because we are so focused on doing everything for our child, or maybe for the family as a whole unit. What do we need as a family? What do I need to do with other members of my family that are outside of my husband and my baby? You become so consumed by all these other factors around you that you never stop and think about what mum wants to do. And you become mum, and like you forget you don't really even use your own name. Like literally, the amount that I am called Mama versus Natasha well outweighs being called Natasha. I'm definitely called Mama a lot more than I'm called Natasha. That is another identity loss. So we mold into this completely new phase of being a mum. Moving on to kind of the second part of this video, which is, when do we notice that this identity loss happens? Well, obviously we're not noticing it in the beginning because we are so involved in our baby, and you know, God bless them, we love those little, you know, poopy things, but we are so engrossed in them, we are not noticing that we're losing touch with us, because now we're like, well, this is my new phase, this is me, you know, this is my identity as my child. But what happens when that child starts attending kindergarten, or you know, nursery or creche, or whatever you want to call it, whatever country you're in? We call it børnehave here in Denmark. So when your child starts going to a daycare or a nursery or some kind of kindergarten, and we're suddenly given time to ourselves. Maybe you are the kind of mum that has the ability to kind of skip nursery years, and you've had them home until they go to school. Maybe you're a mum that is like me, who is homeschooling. Okay, so what do? Our kids start going to school, our kids start going to nursery or whatever it is that they're going to. All of a sudden now you are landed with some hours of time to yourself. Let's face it, we do not want to go home and just clean the house. So that's not really what our life wants to be about. But we probably, majority of the time, do go home and clean the house. So then, okay, you get home, you've cleaned the house, and now everything's done, and you now get some time. You've still got a couple of hours until you need to pick up the kids. What do you do with that time? Do you fill it with some Netflix? Do you read a book? Do you go for a walk? Like, what is it? And a lot of women, I think, struggle with, okay, I have some time to myself, but what is it that I want to do with that time? So I think that's when the realization that we have lost this connection with ourselves happens. And it can be a bit of a shock to some people's system, and it can really affect your mood. So I really suggest you be kind on yourself when you kind of have the realization that the thing that was taking up all your time has suddenly moved away from you a little bit, and now you've gained some time. What do you do with that time? Be gentle with yourself and take this part slow, because you have spent all the previous years of your life building up to having children and learning your own identity, and now it just changed, and it changed in a massive way. So now you need to start the process of re-identifying yourself again. It can be a quick process for some people, it can be a slow process for others. Everyone is different. I would highly suggest these few things. So let's now dive into the last part of this video, which is, what can we do? So we've had the realization, dang, I've got some hours and I don't want to be just the house cleaner. Okay, what do we do? First of all, if you are really struggling with maybe picking up an old hobby, maybe you used to paint and now you realize, I don't even know if I want to paint anymore. So what do? I highly suggest you start with making a list of things that you think that interest you, ideas. I mean, just brain dump onto a piece of paper. Alternatively, go for a walk. If you just maybe drop the kids off and immediately go for a walk, I promise you that getting just like an hour or half an hour of fresh air, walking in nature, will help you to just kind of focus your mind. You're going to be distracted by looking at things, but by that distraction, it's such a natural distraction. It's kind of this peaceful harmony in the forest that it will just reduce the stress in your brain. You will be able to breathe better, you'll be able to think clearer, and you will be able to kind of hone in on what it is that you might feel like doing when you get home. So first two things, go take a walk and make a list. So maybe go take the walk first, get home, write a list of things that you could be interested in doing. So everybody's situation is different. Some of you might be needing to get back to a job, and some of you maybe stay-at-home mums still. The stay-at-home mums is probably the one that this will relate to the most, but I'm pretty sure even people that have gone back to work are going to also feel like, well, when I do get me time, what is it I want to do in that me time? Where is me? Who am I? And what do I like doing? If you are the stay-at-home mum, you are going to have the most time to yourself. And if you are going to try to avoid just being the general housekeeper, and you want to actually find some kind of interest in your life, you really need to start a gentle process of moving towards finding things that make you happy. Because happy mum is going to be good for the kids, it's going to be good for your husband and your marriage and general atmosphere of the house. If you feel sad, go take that walk. Come back, make yourself a nice hot drink, sit down with a pad and a paper and write down a list of things that you would like to try. Maybe it's some new hobbies. Maybe you'd like to try picking up some old hobbies. It could be that you join a class. It could be that you just spend a few days relaxing, like just grabbing a book, getting a nice drink and sitting on the sofa and just feeling yourself, if you know what I mean. I don't mean touching yourself, I mean feeling yourself and just slowly coming round, because eventually your brain will click with an idea of what you would like to try. Trust me, it will come, and it will come sporadically. You'll probably be sitting on the toilet and think, you know what, I know what I want to try and do tomorrow. Okay, you could maybe pamper yourself, maybe get yourself, a face mask, go home and just relax. Put a face mask on, put some nice music on that you enjoy. I bet you haven't even listened to as much music as you used to. It's honestly such a big change you've had that it's time for you to re-identify with yourself again. One of the biggest things that has helped me is meditation. Just sitting and meditating has helped me connect with what I call my inner light, or my inner soul, so much, and helped me to discover who I am, what things I like, what makes me happy. So if I feel sad and down, I know that if I go for a walk in the forest, it's gonna really help me mentally and physically and spiritually. My mood will be completely different when I get back. Another thing you could try doing is, maybe you don't have to go spending money in town, a lot of money, like don't go shopping, but maybe just grab a book and go to your local coffee shop. Just sit down, have a read, get a coffee, just change the environment that you are sitting in. That can really help sometimes, just to not be in the house, not be with the kids, and be somewhere totally different. And it will just help you, again, maybe take your pad and do some note taking while you're in the coffee shop. I mean, use it. It will stimulate you in a different way because it's a different environment, and we react differently depending on what environment we are in. Maybe One thing you could also do is start an online business or some kind of side hustle. Depending on the type of person you are, if you're a creative person, maybe you could design, journals and sell them as print on demands on Amazon. Maybe you are really good at doing social media. You could maybe start a side hustle doing social media management for companies. You could do user generated content creation for companies. There's so many online jobs and home jobs that you can do just with using your phone. You would just be shocked at the possibilities. So maybe think of a little side hustle that you could do just in those part-time hours that again can just be done from home. So you don't need to have a lot of really cool equipment. I am recording right now on a mobile phone, and I started a YouTube channel to help mums. That's as easy as it gets. I mean, I couldn't be more simple in the fact that mobile phone, stick it on record, and use some natural daylight, start a YouTube channel. That's what I did, I've actually tried many things, but this is one thing. Whatever it is that you choose to do, be gentle with yourself. Even if you take a relaxing day and you spend hours laying on the sofa reading a book, drinking tea, or watching Netflix, that's still doing something. Don't go, oh my God, I've not done anything and this is so lazy of me. You know what? Sometimes we need to take a time out, because as a mum, you're so used to rushing around, and we are like the most efficient workers. Like when we put our babies down to sleep, and you got this snippet of time, how much do we get done, mums? Like we are on crack when we have a snippet of time to get something done. Think of that time as well before you have guests that come round. How much cleaning can you get done before a guest turns up? It's our superpower, okay? But because that's our superpower, we kind of do it a lot. So take time out. Take time out for you, because you need to de-stress and it's like a debriefing. You need to debrief from being 24/7 mum. That 24/7 mum that is running in your system at all times is just firing stress, cortisol. You've got your fight or flight system is working at all times when you're a mum, because you are constantly aware of sounds, and if you need to interact with something, or whether it's something you should ignore. Is your baby crying? What's wrong with them? You're triggered so much that your nervous system, it could do with a break. Honestly, it really could. Please don't feel bad about taking a break. So I dare you, mums that are about to put their kids in kindergarten, I dare you to spend the first week of those hours when you're alone, of going home and laying on the sofa, meditate, put some nice music on, whatever it is you want to do, but don't do anything. I dare you to try it, because it will feel so hard and so weird and so uncomfortable that I think you will crack. I think I would crack, actually, if I had to just lay and not do anything. But at the same time, I could really do it. I could really use it, right? There's sometimes during the day I could really use a break. Seriously. Please, please, please understand as well, you are not alone. I created this YouTube channel so I can talk about subjects that stop mums from feeling alone. There's so many times that even myself, I have just thought, I don't know if I'm the only person that suffers from this problem. And I'll talk to my husband about it, and he'll just be like, well, I don't know anyone that gets that, and maybe you should get therapy. Or, you're not alone. I promise you, there are so many women out there that probably resonate with some of the stuff that I've spoken with. Maybe not all of it, maybe some of it, maybe all of it, I don't know. But you are not alone. And this is what this channel is for it to be a place that we talk about these issues and we find solutions as a unit and a tribe of mummies that can come together with their stories. So please, please, If you are happy with disclosing some information about your own life, please do drop a comment below, and just, even if it's just a hell yeah, this is totally me, it will, honestly, the amount of people that will then feel better reading that there are other people that also suffer from this identity loss, it will just make them feel better in themselves. I guarantee you, because the second you don't feel alone with a problem, it feels like the weight slowly lifts, because you feel like you are weird and you shouldn't have this, and everyone else seems to know what they're doing with their life, why don't I? It's not true. It clearly is not true. There are people that haven't had children that think like this. Okay, so the fact that you've had children and now you're thinking like this, like, well done, okay? Because I can tell you now, there's a lot of unemployed people out there in the world who do not know what to do with their lives. All right, so you've done something with your lives, and now it's time for a change, and that is all that's happening. Remember, if you like what we've talked about today and it resonates with you, join in the conversations. It really helps other people. And also just, like, maybe even subscribe if you want to. There's going to be so much content that is out that I'm going to create for mums to help you not just find identity, but a lot of other things. There's so many topics that we mums kind of deal with on a regular basis that sometimes we think, am I alone with this? We're going to be dealing with topics like that. There's going to be special offers. There's currently, if you look at one of the other videos that I have running right now, I did a goodie box review. You can get 50% off of goodie boxes. You can have that delivered to you every month and have a little pamper session at home. Small steps will make big changes. Make a small step today. Maybe order a goodie box so that when that comes in, you know that you are going to have a little pamper day that week, or whatever it is. Go to the shops and buy yourself a new beauty product, even if it is a face mask. Just whatever it is, just make a small change, because eventually those small changes will start to give you clarity, and once you start to get clarity, you can feel so much better about yourself, and you will feel stronger in the choices that you can make going forward from today. So I wish you ladies the best of luck. I really do. I really hope that this video has been something that you can feel is helpful for you. Please do help me out with the channel and spread the word to your friends, your other mummy friends that you think maybe could do with hearing this video. You're not alone. We are a tribe. I love you all.